A house is made of wood and stone, but only love can make a home. Welcome to the RepcoLite Home Improvement Show, helping you make your home into one you'll love even more. On News Radio Wood 1300 and 106.9 FM.
Well, good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday, Haley. Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday, Dan.
I would like to confront you right off the bat.
Okay.
Yep, because I want to just get this over with, and then we can move on after you apologize. So we're doing all kinds of cookouts at our stores, right?
Yeah.
And my daughter, Hannah, has been helping out. And her and you kind of get together and you do a lot of, not, you know, you still do your work, but you do plenty of talking. And Hannah tells a lot of stories out of school.
Well, I feel like I need to entertain her a little bit.
Right. And you both have basically, every time I'm working, I guess this is what I'm going to say. I'll turn around and you're both snickering, pointing in my direction and snickering. And particularly, it's when I'm putting ice in the coolers for, you know, all the pop. And everybody's, you know, trying to eat and trying to have a great time. And I'm trying to help because that's the kind of person I am. So I'm smashing these bags of ice on the ground to put them in the coolers. And I come back, and after days of getting laughed at and not knowing what is wrong, turns out you have informed my daughter, what?
Well, I didn't say you specifically.
No,
I said
you said
in
men
general.
in general.
In general, sometimes there are tasks where you can look a little monkey-like with the actions.
Wait. So men
There's
can
a
look like monkeys.
posture that you can take when you're doing labor that is a little bit silly, like breaking apart ice, where you take on a primate sort of, you know, you're just going back in evolution.
Yes, I get it. I get it. And Hannah has laughed about how I look like a monkey when I'm working now. Thank you.
Yeah, I ruined her.
Over and over again. And the other day I was smashing the ice on the cement. I was hunched over. My arms were as high over my head as I could get them. My back was arched, and I was smashing it down. And I thought, look like a monkey. And I caught my reflection in the mirror.
Yeah.
Or I mean, in the window
glass.
of one of the stores. Oh, my goodness. I look just
Spot on, right?
Yeah, like a silverback ape, a small one.
I'm not trying to insult. I'm just being descriptive.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm not going to make you apologize, but I did think that was really funny.
I feel bad that I told her that because I do think that it's ruined her for life, probably.
Oh, she has run with that.
Yeah.
It's become a thing, so thank you. And Hannah didn't need anything new to make fun of me for.
Oh, I know.
She's got enough.
She's good at that.
Anyway, thought that was fun. Now let's get to the show. And coming up at the end, speaking of animals...
Yeah,
we're going to be actually really stepping off the reservation and talking about a talking dog.
Bunny
the talking dog. And here's the scoop. There's not enough happy, fun, hilarious things in the news.
I agree.
And so we're going to give you something. If you don't know about Bunny, we're going to make your day better.
Yeah,
a lot
absolutely.
better. And that's coming up at the end of the show. We'll also be in the studio with Fire Marshal Brett Grundyke from Holland, talking about lithium-ion batteries and potential fire hazards associated with them.
Right.
But right now, let's talk about something that happened at those cookouts that I was talking about at the beginning. Not just the Dan looks like an ape when he's working statement, but let's talk about some contractors that we've talked to, a number of them, that we're talking about their upcoming, you know, the rest of the year. 3 months ago, we would be talking to contractors, and they're booking out into next year sometime.
Right, yeah. If you're not on the schedule, you're not going to be.
Good luck. And now we're running into more and more of them who are saying, wow, I have been getting phone call after phone call of people canceling. And the reason everybody's giving is I can either get gas in my car.
Right, get groceries.
Or have this painting job done.
Yeah.
And since that's not critical, I'm bailing on the painting job for now. I'll take it on again next year sometime. And we realized that there's a lot of people dropping off the schedule, and we wanted really to do two things with this.
Yeah, if you can afford a contractor and you're still looking to have something done this year, then this is your opening. You know, if people are canceling, getting off the books, these contractors have new openings they didn't have before, so it's a great time to contact them. And the best way, really, is to go to RepcoLite.com. We have a Find a Contractor tab. Click on that. There's a form you fill out, and we'll get all your information, what the job is, and get you some names. It's a really good way to go because you're going to get 3 names or so, and they're going to kind of already be vetted in the sense of can they take on new jobs right now? You're not going to have to go through like the yellow pages and just dial random numbers and hope that one of these people can take a job. Pages. That's so vintage.
I'm an old monkey. What can I say? The internet, the YouTube, the Google, wherever the kids go nowadays to find stuff. Anyway, these will be names of people who really could take the work on, and you can decide if it's right for you. So if you've got the disposable income for that, like Haley said, now's your chance, potentially, to get on the calendar for this year. If you don't have the money and you're one of those people who are thinking, I'm going to have to just wait, there is another option, and it's to do it yourself.
Right.
And we talk about that on the show all the time, and I know the reaction is I don't have the know-how or the skills or stuff like that.
Because it is a skill.
It's definitely a skill.
If a dog can learn to talk, which Bunny has done.
Exactly.
You can learn to paint.
Right. And that's what we really do on the show a ton as it is. That's one of our main goals, is to just walk you through projects. And we decided that while we've done a lot of this, here's how you paint, here's how you do different things.
Right.
We've done that in the past plenty of times. We've never really made an orchestrated effort of stringing a bunch of these together in kind of a series.
Right, like step 1, step 2, step 3.
And so we're going to try over the next few months. We're not going to just overload you because, you can only have so much paint stuff on a Saturday morning.
Yeah.
But from time to time, we're going to hit some basics, and we're going to start at the beginning and work your way to actually working through a project, and we can help you get there. And today, let's just start with something really basic, really simple, but absolutely critical and necessary. And it's just figuring out how much paint I need in order to do whatever work I'm doing.
Because there's a couple things that happen. Either you don't get enough paint, or you get way too much paint and you've got it in storage now. You've overbought, you're spending money you didn't need to. So getting an accurate amount of square footage for your space, knowing that square footage, having it when you come into the store so that we can get you,
Exactly.
the amount that you need.
And it's all really easy. We're going to put notes in the show notes so you can actually look at the math.
Exactly.
You don't have to remember it. But a few things to think about. A gallon generally will cover about 400 square feet, one coat on a sealed surface.
Right. So we're talking about a surface that has been painted already. We're not talking about fresh drywall or new wood, because that really cuts the square footage about in half.
Right, definitely. Another thing to remember is that 2 coats is always best.
Yes.
While we'll get you the numbers for how far 1 gallon will go, or for 1 coat, we're always recommending 2 coats. And related to that is that second coat is going to go further than that first coat will. Even over an originally sealed surface, it'll go 400 square feet. Over a surface that's been coated with 2 coats of paint, 2 layers of paint, it's going to go a little further yet. So keep all of that in mind. Now, with that said, the math is really simple. You just need to figure out the square footage of the room. So take the length of one of the walls, multiply it by the height of the ceiling, and you've got 1 wall. Do that all the way around the room.
Yep.
Don't get this floor square footage. A lot of the times
people
we'll get
make that mistake. Yeah.
It's a 12 by 12 room, so it's 144 square foot that I need to cover. Oh, a quart. They don't tell us that it's a room. They'll just say it's 144 square feet. That's not right.
Right.
So you've got to get the wall. If it's a 12-foot wall, you've got to figure out it's 12 foot by the height of the ceiling by 8 foot, so that's 96 square foot for 1 wall. Work your way around the room. You can also, if you want to be picky, remove windows and doors and stuff like that from that square footage.
Right. And especially if you've got a room with a lot of doorways, with a lot of windows, that's a really important measurement because you're potentially saving quite a bit of paint that you don't actually need for that room.
Yeah. So if you can't remember all of that, that's fine. Don't worry about it. What you do need to remember is when you come in for paint, bring the dimensions of the room. It's a 12 by 12 room, and make sure you get the height of the ceiling with an 8-foot ceiling. From there, we can help you figure it out. Let us know how many doors and windows there are. We can take some averages out and get you what you need. That's the first step. We'll put links in the show notes so you can look at it and get a little better handle on it. But once you know how to do that, you're off to the races. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll be in the studio with Brett Grundyke, Holland Fire Marshal, talking about lithium-ion batteries and potential fire hazards. That's just ahead. Stay tuned.
Helping you turn your house into your dream home. This is the RepcoLite Home Improvement Show, presented by Benjamin Moore on News Radio Wood 1300 and 106.9 FM.
And we're back, and Haley and I are in the studio with Fire Marshal Brett Grundyke from Holland. Brett?
Yeah. That's
Brett,
good.
I know.
I knew what you meant.
I know
what you meant.
Well, yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
We were talking before we went on air. You've been on the show multiple times.
Yeah.
And in the very beginning, I screwed your name up.
Yeah.
And I called you Brent.
That has happened, yeah.
And
it's all right.
I can't get it out of my head.
I know.
And we also had Captain Chris
Tinny, yeah.
in here. And what did I call him? Crapton Chris.
Yeah.
That was so unfortunate.
Oh my gosh.
And it just lives on. So, Crapton Chris, I'm really sorry. I apologize. Will you take him my apologies?
I'll do that immediately. And cookies, too.
Yeah,
I heard you were going to give
nothing
him
but
cookies.
respect
Yes.
for the Crapton. Anyway, we have you here for the moment. I don't know how long you're going to stay and hang out with this going on like this. But we talked a few weeks ago, and then a few weeks before that, and then weeks before that, about Ego battery-powered lawn equipment.
Yes, and we've raved about it.
It. Lithium-ion powered lawn equipment. And I want to start off right off the bat. Everything that we're going to talk about with you is not related necessarily to any Ego equipment. You know, we don't want to throw that name out there and associate it with this event. But after talking about this lawn equipment, we ran into one of our coworkers at an event for some contractors, and he was talking about a literal fire that had happened 2 days before in his neighborhood, and his neighbor's garage burned to the ground. And as they're all out there watching and trying to figure out what they can do, if anything, somebody comes out and references the fact that it was a lithium-ion battery that had caught fire in the garage. And he suggested, our coworker suggested, that we dig into it on the show and talk about it. We promoted these things so highly.
Right.
Let's find out if we've caused mass chaos throughout the area. And so we thought we'd get you here and see once what you think about this whole thing. Talk to us about what's going on, how often you see it happen. Do we need to just panic and run for the hills?
Like my opener opinion, I think we're okay right now.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Just looking around this room right here, I see several different lithium-ion batteries. We got them in the phones. Like I've got one on my hip right now on my radio. And like you probably drive vehicles that have lithium-ion batteries in them.
Right.
You probably,
They're everywhere.
You probably sleep next to a lithium-ion battery. So they're not new.
Right.
All right.
And so I guess if you consider the risks that are associated with them, you should think of any batteries, because they're going to change, right? So the batteries that we're talking about today may not necessarily be the batteries that we're using in 5 or 10 years.
Sure, yeah, that's a
And
good
so
point.
think of batteries as an energy storage system, and just think of those two terms as interchangeable. So you're generating energy from somewhere else, placing it in that battery. The battery is not making electricity.
Right.
You're storing it there until you're going to use it for, cutting back those pesky weeds, or powering your scooter down the road, or your car.
Talking on the phone.
Talking on the phone. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
so many different reasons that we need energy, right?
Right.
I use mine for working.
That's good.
Just wanted to say
For
that.
That's good.
working.
I respect that.
Not
Okay.
for
I
goofing
respect
off. Working.
I figured you weren't using them in your razor because you have such that rugged beard now. So it's very.
Uh-huh.
I
yeah.
do.
You should have seen
Rugged.
it before.
I was
I
surprised.
wish that we would have had video then, because it was,
It was pretty massive.
It's good.
Huge.
I
It's
was
sharp.
really rugged.
It's good.
Yeah.
So
He's not even making a joke.
No.
it's what's
Clarify.
occurring
It's the
first
at
one.
present. Yes. Yeah. I thought Radioland should know that. Yeah.
Well, that's why we started this YouTube thing.
Oh, that's good.
Is that so people can see?
Yeah, so if you're
And
listening on the
appreciate.
radio, head to YouTube.
You're missing out.
Yeah.
You're only getting half the show. Yeah, so I don't use mine in any kind of shaving equipment at this point.
That's good.
Just lawn equipment.
It shows. It
Yeah,
shows.
thank you.
Yes. When you think about these batteries, there's different energy densities. Lithium-ion batteries, there's different energy densities. There's different ways that they are applied to different electronics
Okay.
or mechanical devices like your weed whippers, the lawnmowers, things like that. So they have different uses, and some of them, the way that they're set up, have different power supplies. And in the home, and if you go on YouTube and you see some of these lithium-ion battery fires, right? Like it's
right.
that you're only seeing the fire, right? You're
Right.
not seeing everything that led up to that event. The fire is the culmination of many, many things that have happened in advance of that. So again, you have a fairly common battery system that's been around for several years, that's in a lot of places that you use it regularly. But what you're not seeing is what led up to the event. You're only seeing the event itself. You're getting a very small snippet, very small piece of understanding how that occurred.
You don't have the full context.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is the full context? Or, what are some of the things that precipitate these events?
So to understand why the fire is occurring, it's appropriate to understand how the battery is made, that there is a component to it, that there's a positive component, a negative component in these lithium-ion batteries. And they're about, some of them that are in modules. They're not all the same. They're not all lithium-ion batteries are designed the same, but some of them that are in modules are about 18 millimeters in diameter and about 65 millimeters wide or long.
Okay.
And so those are connected together in modules, so single cells that are connected together in multiple modules. And then if you can think of each of those little individual cells, they all are capable of absorbing energy and discharging energy for, on the inbound side, it's coming off a solar, wind, or some sort of fossil fuel. And then on the usage side, it's used for any of the electronics, high electronics, or any of the different other uses that you have. So you've got different cells. Now, they're not all the same. Like, you're not having an 18 millimeter battery that's in there. It's designed differently. But they all still have a positive charge, a negative charge, and then some sort of a physical separator, a very thin physical separator that separates the two. So in these lithium-ion batteries that you'll most commonly see in some of these fire-type events, it's appropriate to label that a thermal runaway event.
Okay.
And then these type of battery cells that are multiple cells in a module. And in order to have that event happen, something has to occur. Typically what occurs is there's some sort of damage that takes place with that separator that merges the two chemicals together and releases a lot of energy, which creates a lot of heat all at once. And so when something like that happens and you create a lot of heat at one point and you have multiple of these battery cells lined up together, the heat can't really discharge. And so the heat then spreads to the next battery and the next battery and the next battery. And that's where the thermal runaway comes from.
It's like dominoes.
It's exactly what it's like. Yeah, perfect. And
now, once that starts, there's no stopping that.
No. Once that starts,
I can't kick the other dominoes out of the way. It's just going to keep going.
No, you could try.
I like that in theory.
They're gonna be hot dominoes though. You're gonna wind up. You're gonna burn your foot.
All right.
So that's important to understand that once the energy starts releasing, it's off to the races, buddy. Mm-hmm. And that process is going to continue until, if you think back to elementary school and the fire triangle, you've got your fuel, your oxygen, and your heat. Once you run out of fuel and you run out of heat, then that event is going to be controlled. It'll control itself.
Right.
So certain events happen that break down that wall between
the separator,
separator between, and then once that's called a thermal runaway.
Yeah. Once all those batteries start going in there, and usually it's more than one, right? Mm-hmm. And that's when you have your event, your fire event.
And that's what we've seen on YouTube. If you've looked into any of this, I've seen videos of people, driving a little electric scooter. One was like a little moped kind of a thing into a really tight elevator, and they start going up, and it ignites. It ignites really fast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the smoke got to be terrible.
The smoke is very, very toxic. It's the worst part of the event.
And it's a ton of smoke that's coming off of these things.
It is, yep, because you cannot burn off all of the fuel. You're going to have smoke release from the products of combustion of that small cell as it burns.
All right, so let's talk. We're kind of running. I'm watching the time here. I think it's better to pause right here and then talk about some of those events that cause these things to happen and some of the precautions that we might want to take and all of that. And we'll do that on the other side. Can you wait with us?
I'll hang out.
All right. Good deal. We'll be back in just a minute with Fire Marshal Brett.
You did it.
Your last name?
Grunewald. No, I forget to. I forget to.
Yeah,
I forget to.
Doing a funny there, Haley. Anyway, we'll be back in just a minute. Stay tuned.
If you want to take your DIY skills up a rung, the RepcoLite Home Improvement Show is here to give you a boost.
And we're back, and we are still in the studio with Fire Marshal Brett Grundyke from Holland. Thanks for being here, Brett.
You're still Dan, you're still Haley, right?
Yes.
All right, I got it all right.
Yeah, we struggled with names. Names can be tough, right? Yeah. It was a team effort. We struggled as a team.
Sure, yeah.
I was kind of leading the way on it.
Yeah, you're the team leader.
I am the team leader, and I really screwed up everybody's name. You're welcome. Anyway, we've been talking about lithium-ion batteries, potential fire events that, we were told by a number of people over the last couple weeks that this is a major serious issue and we should address it on the show. And before we rang the bell and called for a wide-scale freakout, we thought we'll talk to,
An
voices
expert.
of reason
Yes.
and bring us down. And Brett, you were talking that these are potentially scary fires,
Sure.
but
Any fire would be.
exactly. But this is not something that we need to literally freak out about right
No,
now.
there are not packs of marauding lithium-ion batteries wandering around town burning down everything. It's not a
Rioting.
thing. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, those aren't happening. So
Oh, we
Excellent.
talked about that, and we talked about how the reasons that these things will break down. You talked about the fact that, sure, we have a fire, and we see that on YouTube, and we watch horrible things, and see all these fires happen, and it's very scary. And you mentioned that what we don't see is what led up to that event. We're not getting
Yeah.
the full story there.
Sure.
Right.
And you talked about there's always a certain number of things that can happen that will cause this to break down. Why don't we talk about a few of those, because that might help us be a little more careful with our stuff.
So at the break, we'd watched a video that showed a scooter fire.
Right.
And with that particular electric scooter fire, there's some things to keep in mind. Like, you have a scooter, it's going to be going down the road or the sidewalk or wherever it is that you're riding it. But you don't know what's occurred through the life of that. So is it being physically stressed? Is it being physically abused?
Like jumped over things.
exactly,
and
yeah.
kicked and
Was it hit
knocked
by a
over.
car?
Right.
Was there some other thing that's occurred with that type of a device? Because remember, if you fracture that separator between the two chemicals, you're going to start generating heat. And so it looks dramatic. And this is, again, just one small example of a
Right.
type of battery system. But think of what it's being used in. Think of how that product is being used. And then if you, again, fracture that, you're going to start generating heat. You're going to have the event happen. You'll see all those things burn in sequence. It'll look very dramatic. But yeah,
Riding it down the road, beating it up,
Yeah.
that's one thing. You mentioned, in the break, too, about like lawnmowers.
yeah.
And just kind of banging it
If
around.
you're, I don't know how everybody mows their lawn. Everybody mows it a little different. But I have certain areas of my yard where I'm maybe aggressively will hit my fence.
Sure. Sure.
You have a problem with the
No,
fence?
Get in there.
it's nothing personal with the fence. It's just that you have to get underneath the gap. So
Mm-hmm.
as it is, and so yeah, that'd be one more thing to be mindful of, is not to beat the device on everything. The physical abuse that devices that we have in our lives, we drop them. It's all the dropping, the hitting, the stuff like that.
Don't abuse the devices.
Yes.
So dropping the battery the battery pack.
Yeah, that would be
could
bad for it.
potentially damage
Yeah.
something. So I drop the battery pack.
Yeah.
Now what do I do? Do I throw it away? Do I run?
It depends.
Do I
Down
run?
the road?
It depends, because a lot of this stuff, again, like we talked at the break, this doesn't happen over the weekend, right? This is stuff that happens over time.
Continual damage.
Yep, and you never know which one's going to be the straw, I guess. But there are some things, and Haley offered this up, which I thought was very appropriate, but just keeping an eye on it to see is it getting hotter than you think it should be, right? If the device is getting hotter than it should be, and you can still physically handle it without harm to yourself, move it away from the inside of your home.
Right. Get it to an area that's not going to immediately catch on fire.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Especially avoid charging these very large devices in places of your home where you're going to be moving in and out. So, like, you shouldn't be charging stuff like this around doorways, right, where you think you're going to have to get out. You should be charging these type of devices when you're awake, and
Yeah,
able to
that's a smart thing.
to keep an eye on them, so that if they are overheating, if you do smell an unusual odor that's associated with the overcharging of these batteries, that you're aware of that, you're awake to be aware of it.
What would that smell like? Like, is it metallic?
It's going to depend. It's
Okay.
going to depend on, you've got different types of materials that are in certain batteries, and
Okay.
so if you smell something, if you're charging your battery and there's an odor to you that is abnormal, it could
Okay.
be several
Sure.
different things. Just be mindful of what seems normal in your home and what seems abnormal, and call the fire department. Right? Like, we'll come out
That's
and
what
look
they're
into
there
it.
for.
Yeah, that's
Right.
what
Are you
we're there
going to
for.
chastise us if it's nothing?
No.
That's not a joke.
This is
I
this.
smelled something weird. I need you to come here right now.
No, that.
Sir, it's body odor.
Yeah.
There's nothing we can do.
Yeah, pick your favorite flavor and you can dress up that way and make yourself better. But yeah, if it is something unusual, then you call us. We'll come out and we'd rather have you be fine than not and have a major problem later.
When I read some of the other warning signs were like the battery pack swelling, like
Yeah.
I can imagine seeing
Exactly.
that if it's like a external battery for lawn equipment. Over time, if you notice those walls start
Yes.
to buckle a little bit, that would be a clear sign that you need to.
Well, I think
Get rid
it's a
of
little
this.
bit, Yeah, I don't know, disconcerting. I've dodged some bullets maybe, basically it's charging all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't ever unplug it, which is stupid. I'm picking up. My gas supply is literally right next to it. As soon as you leave, I'm going to call the children and tell them, let's separate these things.
I recommend that. That's an excellent thing to do.
Seriously, though, it's not something
No, that makes sense.
I thought about. I've seen scooter fires, but it's yard equipment. It's not a scooter. It's not a toy, right?
Well, the charger, too, I mean, we see them essentially kind of stop charging at some point, right? Like there's an automatic shutoff that should happen. The potential is that it wouldn't happen because of some, I don't know, abuse or whatever.
Even a defect or something potentially. So the idea of charging, especially these bigger batteries we're talking about, when I'm awake, away from a door, so I can escape.
Yeah, if you need to get out.
Away from my gas.
Also a very good idea. Yeah. I respect that one a lot. Other combustibles, we'll call
I've got other ideas too.
Yeah.
If you need help with stuff, you could probably look at my house and say, look, let's just not do any of this and you'll probably be safe. But really, I don't know how many of us think of that. Or maybe I'm just completely
I mean, all of my stuff is in my shed, which is right next to, again, the gas cans that you're talking about. It's all stored in the same place.
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't think about it. But
you're not seeing tons of these fires. I mean, that's not something that you're just every day, I'm at 5 of these houses.
No. If you think of the amount of, again, going back to what we were talking about earlier, if you think about the amount of lithium-ion batteries that are around you, like just in this room.
Yeah, you walked in with 3 of them on, and I'm kind of scared.
I know, and it's so...
got a fire extinguisher, and we're watching you.
Well, that's good to do as a precaution.
If you start smoking, we're on it.
Good. Somebody will save me, so I don't have to run out of here in
we'll save ourselves.
A ball of flame.
We'll leave the fire extinguisher in your hands. You'll take care of you.
I appreciate
just
that.
being honest.
But you're right. It's not an everyday, every minute type of thing. It typically results from some type of physical abuse, some type of overcurrent, some type of overheating. That's what's leading to some of these things. And you can mitigate for those things, right? Everything has risk.
Right. It's just being smart.
Yeah, and just handling things appropriately. And...
Yeah, I know, not smart. I wasn't being smart.
But this is a good vehicle for that, right? To chit chat about stuff like this. And
you didn't yell at me.
No,
I didn't feel stupid. I appreciate it.
I do what I can. I try to. I have felt stupid more than enough times in my life, so I just try to return the favor to some folks now and then. So
that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool because I live in that world of stupid. So we've got a little bit of time left. Anything else you want to tell the people? I mean, our studio is right by, right like the main thoroughfare where your trucks go by.
Yes.
And you guys are always busy.
Yes.
Is there anything you need to tell people to maybe slow down your work schedule a little bit?
There's always things to offer up. I think smoking has been an ongoing issue this year, smoking fires. If you're going to smoke, just make sure you're taking those cigarettes and putting them out in something that doesn't burn, something that's non-combustible. Those seem to be up. I don't know why. Everything, sometimes feels like there's no rhyme or reason to it. But if you're going to put your cigarettes out, make sure it goes in something that doesn't burn.
So, don't put in alcohol.
Yes. Yeah, please don't do that.
Yeah.
It should be something that is, non-combustible, like metal would be a good one, and then water or sand, water being preferred, that you put that out in. Fire extinguisher in the home, always a good idea. And then your smoke detectors, you should have one where you sleep, a good working smoke detector in every space where you sleep, and then one on every level of your home.
And the batteries should be working.
They should.
Yes,
they are.
The batteries should
and
be working.
Some of them
and
now,
plugged in.
The hardwired ones, absolutely. I've come across that. And some of them you'll find, like they've got the 10-year lithium-ion sealed batteries that are in there. Those are good for 10 years.
They're a fire hazard, too.
I hope not. That would be very ironic.
Yeah, wouldn't it? It started in your smoke alarm.
Yes, I know. So, and I mean, if they're putting them in there, it should give you some sense
I
of
feel better. Well, I
peace.
honestly feel tons better because right after my coworker cornered us and just
like
suggested
freaking us out. Yeah.
It was a great suggestion, but I thought, man, if we miss that these are really, really prominent fires. I felt pretty bad. I'm really glad to hear. It's what makes sense.
Yes.
Think of it this way. There's the event, right? The event that happens, but there's multiple different reasons why the event occurred. The fire is everything coming together, and something led up to that.
And those things can be mitigated to some extent.
Yes, I would 100% agree with that statement.
Oh, before we let you go, I was going to just let Brett go and go do your job.
Okay.
But this is his job too.
Yeah.
I'm not
This is part of it.
implying.
I feel like it.
Yeah. I've
This
got a
is
way
work.
with words. Yeah. No. We talked about one other thing that you said. It's not completely common yet with these fires, but you worry that potentially it could be, or you see that it's possible. But it's people getting like cheaped out or counterfeit batteries. I think that's important because
it is.
That's another place I live. Hey, look, this is $20. That is $250.
Yes.
I'll get 4 of these.
Right.
Yeah, and so I have, this is anecdotal, so I don't know the depth of this or whatever the deal is on that, but at a training I attended recently, the gentleman that was doing the program had offered up, hey, if you do have an incident with a lithium-ion type of a system, try to get an idea of where the battery came from, who manufactured the battery, because his point was there is as anything, if there's a supply and a demand, you're going to have counterfeits of that product, which I never thought of counterfeit lithium-ion batteries.
Well,
never thought that'd be a
exactly.
thing. But
I have.
So I'm glad. See, you're light years ahead of this whole
I
thing.
am.
But
Another
Comes
thing
in
I've
handy.
done wrong.
so he offered up that like this that could be a thing, and so evaluate where your batteries are coming from. If everything else that you're seeing is $200 and you're being offered that for $20, I mean, value being one
There's a
potential
reason.
indicator. Yeah, there's something afoot.
Yeah.
So just be mindful of that.
Yeah. Get stuff that is produced to high standards.
Yeah.
Like our radio show.
And
Would you agree with that?
That's an excellent segue. That's an excellent segue.
Yeah. That's what I do.
You're
it's like
professional.
magic. Anyway, Brett, so much thanks.
So much thanks.
I'm a professional.
I will accept the thanks.
What I meant to say, of course, was Brett, thanks so much
Yes.
for stopping out and hanging out with us, telling us all this stuff that we need to be safe about, not yelling at me.
No.
I think this is great, and
Yeah,
I think I know
appreciate
you're
it.
absolutely serious when you talk about if anybody out there, in our area, notices something strange, don't feel, reluctant to reach out to the fire department.
If you're not comfortable with it, call somebody and ask. That's what I do in my real life. I mean, outside of badges and uniforms, if I don't understand something, I reach out and I find somebody smarter than me.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Fire Marshal Brett Grondijk from Holland, thanks so much for taking the time, coming here, walking us through all of this
Thank
stuff.
you for the invite.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I feel like it's really nice. We don't ever
is.
get to say you're welcome.
Right.
Yes.
No, I guess we could. We should say you're welcome. We never
did.
do. We
Yeah.
just roll right past.
It's polite.
It is, yeah.
You
Well,
can do it.
We've had 271 episodes, and I've never said
finally
you're
said you're
welcome yet. So you're welcome, Brett.
Wonderful.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Thank you, Haley.
If you want to take your DIY skills up a rung, the RepcoLite Home Improvement Show is here to give you a boost on News Radio Wood 1300 and 106.9 FM.
And we're back, and I am so excited for this segment. I wish it was 3 times as long.
I know. We've got like 6 minutes to talk about Bunny.
Bunny the talking dog. It's basically a TikTok sensation.
Yes.
You saw a little video, Hidden Lives of Pets, on Netflix. If you've got that, you can go check that out.
Yep.
But Bunny the talking dog, she's a sheepadoodle, and it's not boring talking, like she barks in a way that sounds like hello.
Right. Like we've all seen the Huskies that have videos on
Right.
YouTube, and they do like the barks that sound like words. But
Not that.
right.
Cooler than that.
It's way cooler. She actually communicates in a similar way that humans do that don't have verbal skills. So, a person might have a tablet and it's got all these buttons with symbols on it, and they're putting those together to form sentences to communicate. And Bunny the dog is basically doing the same thing, just on the floor with bigger buttons.
She's got these simple little buttons where her owner has recorded whatever word
Right.
that button represents. And it all started with outside, which honestly, when you told me that, I wasn't so impressed because I've had some dumb dogs.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, honest to goodness, dumb dogs. The vet would sign off, this one's dumb. And that dog could ring a bell at the door, to go outside. It got
Right.
that.
Yeah, it's basic training.
So Bunny started with this little button where her owner recorded the word outside.
Yep.
And then Bunny could hit that button and it would say the owner's, in the owner's voice, say the word, and then Bunny would go outside. She trained her like that. Well, she starts adding buttons.
Yeah.
And Bunny's not the only dog that's ever done this. There's,
Right.
Stella.
Yes,
That's another
Stella's
dog.
the other dog.
Right. And I'm sure there's more. But Bunny's got, her vocabulary has grown to, I thought it was like in the 90s.
I thought, yeah, right around 100 words that she has.
Right.
So.
She's 2 years old, a sheepadoodle, and I believe a toddler at 2 years old can have a vocabulary of about 50 words.
So she's smarter than a toddler.
Well, not a Hanson toddler, but a regular one.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in dog years, she's older, so I guess that evens
she's like
out.
14.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Still smarter than, no, I know. Anyway, she's got all these buttons, and still you might say, okay, so she's just, figured out
outside
this
food.
sequence of buttons.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what's going on. I don't know. I know that the owner has been posting on TikTok for a long time, and a number of colleges clued into this, and now they're literally studying Bunny because there's so many interesting things. And you should just talk, Haley, about a couple of the sequences.
The weird things, like the reason the universities wanted to study her is because it appears that Bunny has a sense of self, which for the longest time we've said that animals don't have a self concept. They don't know that they're a dog and that they're Bunny. They just
They
just
recognize
exist.
that name gets this response, so I'm going to do that, and
they
that's
don't
a
have
happy thing.
abstract thoughts.
But she saw herself in a mirror, right? That
Exactly.
started it.
And she asked, "Who dog? Who that dog?" And the owner replied, "That's Bunny."
By pushing all the buttons.
Right. And the dog saying, "Why dog?
Yeah.
Why
am I a
Bunny dog?"
So cool.
And then she's going back and forth with the owner, and the owner is trying to explain to her that she's a human.
That the owner is.
Yes, and Bunny is a dog. And Bunny doesn't understand that they're different. Bunny thinks that she's a human.
That's really cool. And I like that one. I like, there's another one where she's talking about her dreams. She started pushing a sequence of buttons that I think it was night, talk, sleep.
Yes.
Night, talk, sleep. And the owner didn't know exactly what that meant, but started to think, it seems like when she wakes up, she has a night talk sleep, and a dream.
Yeah,
is
it's what
they
it
started to
translates,
think.
right.
And Bunny was twitching on the floor, dreaming one day, and the owner wakes her up, or when she wakes up, she asks, what night sleep? What talk night sleep? Something like that.
Yeah.
And Bunny types out stranger animal. So
Telling her what
she telling
potentially was in the dream.
very, very interesting. Those things are really interesting to scientists. It's really interesting to just think, how smart are dogs? There's a favorite one, and then there's a really good example one. But there's one where Bunny is tapping on the floor, "Where's Dad? Where's Dad?" And the owner says, "Dad's upstairs." And then Bunny stares for about 30 seconds, like she's thinking about this. She looks upstairs, and then she asks, "Going potty, Dad? Going potty, Dad?" And the owner busts out, So Bunny's processing.
Right.
Is she? We don't know. My favorite one, though, and the one that I've read the most about, that it's the most intriguing thing that she's done, and it's an awareness of pain and an awareness of location.
Yes. There was one instance where Bunny pushed the ouch button, and she kept pushing it. Ouch, hurt, ouch. And so the owner's like, "Okay, well, what's going on? Where do you hurt?" And Bunny says, "Ouch, paw, hurt.
Help.
Yeah. That's what she starts saying is help. And so the owner picks up Bunny's paw and looks at it, and sure enough, there's a thorn in her paw. She removes the thorn, and that's what was going on.
That's a big deal, that they
Yeah.
can identify pain in a source, in a place, and then communicate that.
Yes.
What is going on? That's not a trained
No.
mechanism there.
Exactly.
You don't do that on a regular basis. It's so intriguing. If you have dogs or pets of any kind, they're way smarter sometimes than we tend to sometimes think. We look at them, they know so much more.
Yeah.
And it's really intriguing to me as you dig into it. Bunny is definitely something to check out. She's got a TikTok, whatever that's called. What do the kids call the TikTok stuff?
TikTok.
Oh, it's the TikTok. One of these days I'll get it. She probably even has the YouTube.
She probably
maybe
has the Facebook.
Definitely
but she's on
check
Netflix.
it out. We'll put links in the show notes. It'll make you laugh. It'll make your day.
Yes.
There, we ended the show on a high note. If you want to catch this one again, you can find it online at RepcoLite.com. And don't forget, you can go to YouTube, search the RepcoLite Home Improvement Show, and view the whole thing in all its glory. Make sure you subscribe if you do. Whatever you do today, make sure paint's a part of it. The RepcoLite and Port City paint stores are open until 3, waiting to help. I'm Dan Hansen.
And I'm Haley Johnson. Thanks for listening.